Hi, welcome back. This is the second video where I will be moving along up from the ground to the top, where I will be talking, although I suppose, thinking about it, if I'm going upwards, the lens would still be, but I'm making that separate. So it goes from the tripod up to the camera body, and then over to there, and then it'll go higher up, and I'll talk about me, because I'm taller. That's how that will work. Yes. Anyway, the camera. I'm going to go grab the camera, and I'm going to show you everything about it that I like. Isn't it easy to see with black on black? Well, that's slightly better. It's not black, so at least we'll be able to see a little bit better. I had some of this fabric from photography days where I was doing different backdrops and things. This is the Blackmagic Ursa Mini, 4.6K, Gen 2. Why don't I put it on the tripod? This is the Blackmagic Ursa Mini 4.6K G2 something. I'll put it on the screen because I don't remember the whole title off the top of my head. It's a great camera. I really like this. I like shooting with Blackmagic since I got the Pocket Cinema first. I really enjoy using this one. It's just better, upgraded, and has a lot more features. There's buttons all over the front, so I can control very specific things, which is really nice instead of trying to have to go through a touchscreen menu, because quite often when you're out there, especially when it's cold here in Wyoming, I'm wearing a lot of gloves, and the touchscreen isn't going to work anyway. So I'd have to take off a glove in order to go in to change a setting, or I could change a setting right here with some switches or buttons or things like that. And it shows me on the front a lot of really useful information without having to open the screen up, which is great. I do have the viewfinder so that I can see a lot of stuff through there as well. It puts information on it. I wonder if you can see that. Kind of, yeah, a little bit. That's what I wind up using to check all my settings while I'm out shooting, which change frequently depending on time of day, the sunlight, etc. So it does have on the inside the ability to shoot to basically big fat SD cards, which I do not do, as those are extremely expensive. To get something like that, and because I wind up shooting in high frame rate and with such large files, trying to capture it as much as possible with as little compression as possible, I want to use the biggest memory cards that I can. So I don't even use memory cards, I use hard drives. I use SSDs, the same thing that would go into a desktop computer, or I suppose a laptop, yeah. I use hard drives, the same thing that would go into a computer of any kind. That's what goes in here. I don't have one in there right now because I'm not shooting anything, but that flips up and a hard drive goes down into there. I had to get this specific adapter, which they stopped making, and then I had to buy it used because that was a whole thing. I bought one, it didn't work. I had to send it back, and then they stopped producing them. They didn't have any more in stock. They were never going to get them again. So I bought it secondhand, which came with a hard drive, which was really nice, and it's been working out so far because I really wanted to be able to use that. The other options were ones that would basically have a mount up on the top, and then two cables that would come in here with dummy cards, and you would put those into both slots, meaning that you could never close this screen, and then you would be able to record to an SSD up on the top. I don't want any of that. I'm really happy that I was able to get this, especially since they stopped making this specific kind and they make a new one which works with the newer camera, because this is the 4.6 and they make a 12K camera. Yes, I want that. But that's way more. So I did get that, and then I got the ability to mount a big boy battery on the back. One of the purchases I got this week was to actually pick up a second battery, because while I haven't gotten to the point, it's happened a few times, but it's only been short trips out anyway, where I've been shooting and I will get all the way down to the point where the battery's going, hey, your battery's going to die, you should put in another one. And although I have a smaller one that I got for the Pocket 6K, this beefy thing right here is much more power and it will last longer. So now I have a second one, I can charge both of them up, I can take both of them with me, and I can shoot for even longer, theoretically, a full day. On the other side is how it plugs in. Let's see if we can get here. This is why I specifically had to get, this is part of the camera here, and then the adapter right here is where the SD cards go, where this cable's coming out of. These use SDI cables, which look like this. Almost, it reminds me of an old coax cable. I say old like we're not still using that today, even though that's how I have internet. It uses SDI cables. The new version that they made uses it in a USB-C, which for this specific camera, or I don't have a port right here that's USB-C. On the 12K camera that they made it for, there is one so that you can do that. I could get the other one, I could technically use it, but then I would have to do the same thing where it goes in behind that screen. That's the only USB-C port on there. Not ideal, not what I want, so I didn't get that. I did get a plate here, which is where I have attached for my microphone. I don't have the microphone on right now, but this is, I put a shotgun mic on here so I can try to capture some audio. Hopefully it comes out. It's not always great because you get so much of the camera movement. It would be better to put the microphone somewhere else that isn't being disturbed on its own tripod. I'm thinking about that with the other tripod that I mentioned that I currently don't have a use for. If it doesn't wind up going down here into the streaming room to hold my second camera or something like that, I may take it out and I may mount the microphone straight onto there and then just use a XLR cable to run it all the way around. The other thing is these right here on the front. Spin it all the way around. We have more SDI cables here, although they look different because they've got big shields on them and stuff like that. This leads up to the viewfinder on top. That is how the viewfinder gets a signal from the camera body itself. It's not a DSLR or anything where you've got mirrors so that you can see a live feed of it. It is a digital signal that is sent through the SDI cable up to the viewfinder, and that's why the viewfinder is so very expensive. It in itself is a whole lens, almost, you could say. It's a viewfinder. It's got glass and everything, but it has electronics in it. I do like that the viewfinder, and I've started doing this for cropping purposes. Let's see if I can show you here. On the top of the viewfinder are some buttons that if you saw the footage, if you are on Patreon and you saw some of the footage recently that I had, like I do behind the scenes footage for that, I do know that specifically there's one clip, I don't remember which one it was, but there was one clip where you'll hear a lot of clicking, and that's what that is. I'm clicking the buttons on the top of the viewfinder, the mic is picking it up. Another reason why it would be good to move the mic off the camera, but for now, I just do that. Realistically, if I'm going to put any kind of footage together in a way to like present it and put it out there instead of just like here's a behind the scenes vlog kind of thing, when I actually do produce wildlife videos, I'd ADR everything, which I'd put in different audio that I captured, or, you know, I could start going out and capturing specific audio. So far, nothing's been really making a lot of noise to the point where I need to have that, but yes, the buttons on the top are really useful to turn on and off features, or like I was saying for the cropping, I can zoom. So if I use this and I hit the zoom button, my footage doesn't get affected. It's just zoomed in what I get to see. So if I zoom in, then I can get the way I want to, where it's a nice close crop on the whole thing. And then actually the footage itself is back, because as I've come to realize, I have to stabilize pretty much every footage I shoot, like everything. And when you do that, the program that we use to that I edit with to stabilize, the best way that they do that is they take the big picture and they crop it in a little bit, and that way they can get rid of all the shakeout here, and when it's in here, it's not as much, or almost none, depending on how good it is. That, in a combination with the fact that this tripod is much sturdier and will have a lot less shaking going on. I'll talk about more of that when we get into the lens in the next video, because that's really where the lens shake comes in there, and I've got some examples I can show you. Yeah, that's pretty much it, without going into too much more of the lens stuff. It does have all kinds of features. Again, this is not a product review. I'm not going to talk about every single thing that's on here. I'm talking about the things that stand out to me that I look at and I like. I like that it has built-in ND filters. neutral density, I want to say is what that is. It helps a lot when you're going out and you're shooting in the sunlight because there's only so much you could do with cutting out the harsh glare. It has a little knob for that, and it actually rotates in front of the lens. You can see it when it's on there. You'll see if I ever change how many, if I change the amount, like there are, boy, how do I explain this? The best way is to just see footage of it rolling, probably. So I think that covers everything with the body that I have to talk about, really. It's the best camera I've ever used. It's just fantastic. The Pocket was great. Pocket Cinema 6K, sure. It did good. It's what I shot my first few videos on. All of the wildlife back in Georgia in the wetlands. It worked out fine. This one has way more control, way more functions. It's just higher quality. It's like 3 times the price, so of course that makes sense. And it's fantastic. I've had it for, I want to say going on 4 months now, between 3 and 4 months, and it's just been a blast using it. So I'm really happy about it. I expect I'll be using this for many years to come because, again, the next camera I would get would be the 12K, and that is, it's not quite 12K in price, but that's far more than I can afford at this point. I could barely do this. I took out a loan in order to get this one, as we've talked about previously, but this is what I'm willing to do. This is how far I'm willing to go. So I think that's it for this. When we are moving up along, now we are going to, like I said, we did the tripod and here's the camera, and the next one we'll do the lens. I'll probably split these up into different videos. I'm sure I've missed things about it. Again, as I continue to say, this is not a product review. This is not meant to give you an idea of whether or not you want to buy this camera. This is just for specific people who watch me and are interested. Hey, I've seen you using that camera a lot. Will you talk about it? Yes, there it is. Next, we'll talk about the lenses, because as you probably have seen in a sneak peek throughout this whole thing, I got a new lens, and I'm very excited about it. Don't know how to end this.